Hey, it's Uno, and you're tuning in to That's on Cue podcast. And we are live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to That's on Cue, a show where we talk about all things life, experiences, and unraveling the journey of it all. I'm your host, Uno Kibin, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. So, quick chika lang, guys. Today was actually the first day of our school opening. Yeah, and it's so fun and exciting, no? Kasi every school year, I get to meet new people or I get to meet my old friends and reconnect with them like, musta naman? And talk about what they did in summer. Well, I know for myself, I did nothing this summer rather than sleeping or like chilling at the couch, and I think that's all. But also, I think every school year is a new year to make new friends, make new memories, and experience new things, right? Kasi like, especially when you're gonna be senior high school already. Well, I just turned senior high school already, so it's gonna be a new clean slate for me to experience a lot of things, right? And I think it's gonna give me a lot of opportunities to discover myself. Diba? Kaya kanina, when we entered the students orientation, it was so lively and energetic. Like, grabe talaga. So, it was truly starting off the school year with a bang. So, ayun. That's what happened kanina. And obviously, I met my new classmates. Obviously, I had some old classmates as I already knew. And I made friends with them. And that got me really thinking and like realizing na grabe, I'm already senior high school. That means I'm already at some point old or like gonna reach the point where I'm gonna be 18 next year or the next years, and I'm gonna be college, and the thought of the future is so pretentious. It just sucks to think about the future and overthink the possibilities because you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's so unpredictable, right? And at some point you're just gonna have to like go with the flow, sabi nga naman. And although I think that's okay, and I think that's true, I think that's the most reasonable way to put it out. It's just so as like an average person, you can't ignore or you can't like stop yourself from thinking about what could possibly be, right? Kaya this episode we're gonna be talking about growing up. And maybe some of you might say that growing up sucks. I hear you. That's valid. And maybe some of you might say that growing up allows you to be or to connect with a version of yourself you're yet to discover. Wow. So yeah, anyways, let's go on with the episode. So there are a lot of ways where you are able to define growing up. One of which is growing up means maturity, right? Growing up means you are reaching a stage of adulthood. Kumbaga, when you're at the age of 18, you are expected to be aware of how the world operates and how taxes work, or maybe you're expected to know the basic necessities of adulthood, diba? But we can't always assume that this is the case. Kaya, the thing here to take away is growing up already means that you are reaching a point of adulthood, right? That at some point you're gonna have to deal with taxes. At some point you're gonna deal with your own laundry. You're gonna deal with your own house at expenses, and you're gonna be living on your own, right? Growing up means that at some point you're gonna have to be an adult. And for some, it's gonna be exciting because I finally get to live on my own. I finally get to get out of my parents' house and do what I want. And for some, it might suck because you're gonna be living on your own, you're gonna be independent. It gets scary sometimes because you don't have anyone to lean on, right? And life is simply just a journey and process of learning everything, right? And you're never too late to learn new things. You're never too late because you have to understand everyone works at their own pace. Life is not a marathon, life is not a race. Some may be far ahead than you, or some may be behind you, and that's okay. You don't have to rush things. You don't have to force yourself to be this, like at the age of 30 I must have family, I must have a house. I don't think that it's good, right? Because you're pressurizing yourself. Although it's nice to have like at least expectations or at least a standard, you can work at your own pace, and it's okay if you're slow, because all of us are working at our own pace, and that's perfectly fine and that's completely valid. So anyways, moving on, I think another reason as to why some people, and I consider myself part of this group too, hates the idea of growing up is we have tied a narrative with growing up to doing taxes, being independent, doing adult things that limits us from being our true self or having fun, right? That means to saying, if you apply for a job and you get into the job and you finally work, you are compromising your fun because at weekends you won't be able to go out anymore, or it's not just the same as your teenage life. And that's kind of scary. I can agree to that. And I think another reason is the idea that society has given us a narrative that at some point we need to grow up. Na at some point when we're gonna be 18, we need to know our taxes, we need to know our rights. It's important to know your rights, by the way. We need to know the basic adulthood stuff, and it scares us because that means letting go of your teenage self, right? Or letting go of the youthful years. That means to say that the only memory or the only thing that you could ever have to look back on your teenage years is the memories. And it's really stinging. The thought of it really stings you. Diba? Kasi because you have to understand, there's a lot of people that are forced to grow up. Like, what if I don't want to grow up? What if I want to stay in these years where I'm most free, where I'm not gonna deal with taxes, or where I'm not gonna be working for half of my life before retirement? What if I still want to be a teenager, right? And I think that's the case for most people, and that includes me too. Kasi like, if you look at it, if there's a lot of songs actually that has the hint of youthful years, like yung Forever Young song. I forgot who made that, but it goes like, forever young, I want to be forever young, diba? And there's a lot of old people that's listening to that. There's even a commercial about it, and it really gives us a sense of knowledge, knowing that our prime years was in our teenage years, diba? And with growing up too, you risk the idea of letting go of past things that no longer serve you. That is to say, you outgrow the relationships and connections and the ideas that you once believed was good for you, right? And although I agree that's true, I'm human, or we're simply just human. That means to say that it hurts to reminisce on the past. It hurts to like know that this certain person or this certain thing is only just a memory now. And to look back on it, it's something beautiful, and at the same time, it's something bittersweet, diba? That means to say, to reach a certain level of maturity, you must allow yourself to let go of things that no longer serves you. Wow. Anyways, I think that's the cons of growing up, but I think there's a lot of pros of growing up or maturing, right? You get to be matured, right? Obviously, you get to be matured. You get to understand, or you gain knowledge with experience that you have encountered through all of your life, right? But the benefit of the doubt, I want you to ask yourself this. What if this was something that was actually pulling you back, right? Kasi there's a lot of things that even if you think this is for your own good, maybe the universe thinks otherwise, right? It's actually pulling you back to your fullest potential. Kaya sometimes you just have to understand and just like go with the flow. But again, I want you to reflect on it. The question of, would you consider growing up neglecting the child that is inside of you? Diba? And totoo nga naman, if you grow up and you feel mature, you neglect or you let go of a past version of yourself to reach the certain maturity you have right now. And that means to say that you don't forget about it, but you just leave it in the past and you just let it stay there and focus on the present, be grounded, or maybe focus on the future. Same cycle repeats. Well, I think that you have the option to cater to that child and to cater the needs and the happiness of the child inside of you. But not only that, you have the option to cater to the teenager inside of you. That means to say that do the things that once made you happy when you were young, right? This is called healing the inner child, diba? Kaya ang saya mag-heal ng inner child because you reminisce, and not only that, but you make yourself happy again. You make yourself emotionally fulfilled if you do those things. And I think that's really, really important in being human, right? In the process of discovering yourself and the layers you have beneath the layer. Wow! Anyways, I think all in all, growing up is a bittersweet thing, really. Kasi alam mo, there's obviously a difference between growing up and growing old. Growing old is natural. Growing old, everyone grows old. You have wrinkles, you age, you like deteriorate. But growing up is always an option for you guys. That means to say that even if you're 22 years old or even if you're old, who's to stop you from being the young kid you once were, right? Who's to stop you anyways? Your life is short, right? Life is short. Might as well live the way you want to, right? Who cares about what society says, right? Even if you're expected to be mature, or even if you're expected to do this, what's gonna hurt if you're gonna cater to yourself and your needs anyways, right? So even if I say growing up sucks, I think it's beautiful because not only I am able to reminisce on the past, but I am able to look forward on what the future holds for me. The amount of people that will meet me, that I am yet to meet, the amount of places I am yet to see, and the amount of things I am yet to discover, not only in the world that surrounds me, but with myself. And I find closure in that, and I find that thought very, very beautiful. So I think that's the end of today's podcast and today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to That's on Cue podcast. And for the next episode, it's gonna be a surprise, right? So tune in for the next one. Who knows? This might be your new favorite podcast. But I'm just being delusional here again. And that's all. Thank you and goodbye.